Audio 8.1.
They're made of plastic. This is good because it means they're lightweight. The lenses are rigid and obviously they're transparent, so I can see where I'm going. But because they're plastic as opposed to glass, they're a lot tougher and far less fragile, and there's less danger of them breaking. The strap is made of some type of flexible plastic or rubber, and they're elastic, which means they fit well and don't let water in.
Audio 8.2.
They're made of plastic. This is good because it means they're lightweight. The lenses are rigid and obviously they're transparent, so I can see where I'm going. But because they're plastic as opposed to glass, they're a lot tougher and far less fragile, and there's less danger of them breaking. The strap is made of some type of flexible plastic or rubber, and they're elastic, which means they fit well and don't let water in.
Audio 8.3.
When the Royal Swedish Academy awarded the 2010 Nobel Prize for Physics to two scientists from Manchester University, they described their discovery as having a vast variety of practical applications, including the creation of new materials. Some people say that their work could represent as much of a change to humanity as plastic did in the past. But what is it? Its name is graphene. Graphene has a unique set of physical properties. It's really quite simple, because graphene is carbon, a one-atom thick layer of carbon that makes it the thinnest material ever discovered. But what else is special about graphene? Well, it's an excellent conductor of heat and electricity. It's tougher than a diamond and stronger than steel. It's also very elastic and can stretch up to 20% its original length. Because of all this, it's guaranteed to revolutionize the production of hundreds of household objects. With graphene, scientists say we'll be able to produce a new generation of flexible phones and tablets. In just a few years, they're likely to be putting digital devices like phones inside your clothes, windows, and walls. And you may well be able to read a display inside a transparent material like glass. But graphene could also help in the fight against diseases such as Alzheimer's and cancer, because scientists believe it could help both in diagnosis and in new types of phototherapy. And if all this is true, graphene is sure to be as important for the 21st century as plastic was for the 20th.
Audio 8.4.
OK, Sylvia, so first of all, can you tell us why you decided to give up plastic?
First, I think I should point out that what I've been trying to do is cut down on my use of plastic. It's pretty difficult to cut it out completely these days, but I was interested to find out if I could significantly reduce the amount I used.
And what made you decide to do this?
Well, I was already aware that a huge proportion of my rubbish at home was made up of plastic, but I guess the main thing was that I saw something in a magazine about this massive island of waste plastic in the middle of the ocean. It was really horrifying. When I saw the photo, I decided I couldn't just sit there, so I found out about some people who were trying to, do something about it.
By reducing the amount of plastic in their lives?
Exactly. And that's why I decided to see how much I could reduce my plastic consumption in a month.
So, having made the decision, what was...
Audio 8.5.
In a month.
So, having made the decision, what was the first thing to go?
Well, I thought I was doing okay. I'd been using reusable bags for my shopping for ages. But I started taking a closer look at all the packaging food comes in before you even put it in your bag.
What, you mean like plastic on pre-packed meat and plastic egg boxes and things like that?
Yeah, though being allergic to eggs, that wasn't a problem for me, but yes. For example, cheese is wrapped in plastic, fruit comes in plastic bags. I worked out that I was producing 3 bags of rubbish a week just from packaging. It's completely crazy.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Then there's all those plastic water bottles we seem to get through now. So many people just seem to drink up, throw it out and buy another one without even thinking about it. Now I just use a glass or a metal bottle.
OK, so you've been trying this out for 4 weeks now? Since giving up, or rather cutting down on plastic, do you think you've ended up spending more?
Well, I've gone over to shopping more in local shops rather than supermarkets, but I think it's probably more a question of time than money. I mean, doing the shopping takes up more time, but the quality of the experience also goes up, you know? You get to actually have conversations with people when you use smaller shops. And given the choice, I think many people would prefer to buy their fruit and veg direct from the producer or from a local shop where you know it hasn't travelled thousands of miles.
So you're at the end of the initial experiment. What next? Do you think you're going to keep it up?
Definitely. No doubt about it. Looking back, it's hard to think why I hadn't tried it before. It's really just a question of changing a few habits, becoming a little more aware. Taking everything into consideration, it's been a great experience.
Audio 8.6. A.
What I've been trying to do is cut down on my use of plastic. It's pretty difficult to cut it out completely these days.
B.
Doing the shopping takes up more time, but the quality of the experience also goes up.
Audio 8.7.
Something I've had to put off. Well, actually, last year I had to change all my holiday plans because of work. What happened was, my wife and I had been planning a trip to the USA for ages, and we were really looking forward to it. We'd always wanted to do a road trip, just book the flights, get there and then set off down the highway, stopping whenever and wherever we felt like it. I've had friends who've gone on similar trips and had a fantastic time. But then something that we weren't expecting came up. One of the companies we do a lot of business with asked for a big order that needed to be sent out as soon as possible. There was nothing for it. I had to put my trip off and get on with fulfilling the order. We worked really hard and got the order out on time. The company was so pleased they placed a second big order and then another. By doing this one rush job, we've been able to build on the relationship, and they now give us at least one big order per month. And in the end, we were able to have our trip, just a few weeks later than we'd planned. We got to New York and set off heading west. It was a fantastic trip. I'll never forget it.
Audio 8.8.
Much of what we do in business, as well as outside work, is concerned with human interaction. It's therefore very important to understand some basic principles. Whenever we speak, whether we know it or not, all kinds of unspoken or non-verbal signals are being exchanged. Of course, a lot of this is down to instinct. It's quite unconscious, and we often both deliver and receive these signals without being aware we are doing so. The study of non-verbal communication, or kinesics, is vital to management and leadership, and to all aspects of work and business where communication can be seen. By becoming aware of our body language, the way we move, our facial expressions, and the effect it has on other people, we have in our hands a very powerful communicative tool. One very interesting...
Audio 8.9.
Things to concentrate on while listening. Listening is very intense, if you try to understand everything you hear. When we listen, it's important to distinguish between important and less important information in order to understand the message. We can do this in two ways. Focus on the stressed words, which tend to carry information. Become aware of the low-key intonation used for the words we can ignore, usually because they contain repeated or irrelevant information. For example, much of what we do in business, as well as outside work, is concerned with human interaction.
Audio 8.10.
Whenever we speak, whether we know it or not, all kinds of unspoken or non-verbal signals are being exchanged.
Audio 8.11.
By becoming aware of our body language, the way we move, our facial expressions, and the effect it has on other people, we have in our hands a very powerful communicative tool.
Audio 8.12.
One very interesting aspect, of which most of us are unaware, is mirroring. Mirroring is when one person copies the body language of another. If one person sits forward, the other person sits forward, and so on. Mirroring is a non-verbal way to say, I am like you, I feel the same. Making this kind of connection, or bond, will help us develop a good relationship with the other person who will, as a consequence, perceive us as being friendly.
Audio 8.13.
But mirroring, or the chameleon effect, as it is sometimes known, is not restricted to body language. People also mirror voices. In an effort to make a positive impression on another person, to show they're on the same side, the brain can cause people to adopt characteristics of their speech style, including intonation and speed of speech, and even alter their accent to fit that of the person they are talking to. So, if we want to build understanding and trust, as of course we do when we're trying to get a new customer or sell a product, we need to use all the tools at our disposal. Become aware of kinesics, body language and facial expressions, and think about mirroring. There's no better way, according to research, to win a customer over.
Audio 8.14.
Right, the first card I'm going to choose is, well, I think it's a library card. I think it might be a university library or something like that. And the second one is one of those ID cards that business people wear round their neck. So both cards are used for the purpose of identification. With the first one, you'd be likely to use it to identify yourself, but I guess it would also have the additional function of recording, perhaps, the books that you've borrowed and the books that you have yet to return. But I think the other one is one of those cards that you have when you're a visitor. So this person could be some kind of visitor to the building, to the office, and has to wear this card to identify themselves as someone who is permitted to be there. I suppose with the first one, the card would enable you to borrow books and obviously to use the facilities of the library and to study there, while the second one would simply enable you to access the building. In terms of how I'd feel about using a card in each situation, well, I wouldn't have any issues, I guess. Particularly in the example of the library. It seems to me to be something very practical. It's nice to see the digitalisation of that kind of resource now. I think it's a lot more efficient, so I wouldn't have any problem with that. When it comes to the ID card for the office, I have to say, whenever I've had to wear one of these, I've found them pretty uncomfortable. They're difficult to get on your clothes. But I suppose, it's practical. It's important that people can identify who should and shouldn't be in the building. So I think in both cases, the use of the card is practical and justified.
Audio 8.15.
Bound to. Unlikely to. Guaranteed to. Likely to. Might. Sure to.
Audio 8.16.
Absorbent. Durable. Elastic. Flexible. Strong. Fragile. Lightweight. Magnetic. Rigid. Biodegradable. Tough. Transparent. Versatile. Water resistant.